There, I told Victoria, I am not receiving that. It is not going to be the terrible twos for us. It's going to be the terrific twos. And do you know, we didn't have a problem with Jonathan when he was 2 or 3 or 4. He got to be about 10 years old. People started saying, just wait till he gets to be a teenager. You talking about giving you problems, giving you headaches. Well, Jonathan's been a teenager for almost a year. Do you know, he still hadn't started cursing. He still hadn't gotten rebellious. He's just as kind, as respectful as he's always been. Next thing people will say, well, just wait till he turns 18, gets out on his own. Wait till he hits 40. Joel, when he gets to be 75. I've made up my mind. I am not going to let people talk me into settling for mediocrity. I'm not activating my fears. I'm activating my faith. We're not expecting our children to cause us problems. We're expecting them to excel. We're expecting them to do great things in life. Your children are going to rise to the level of your expectations. If you expect them to give you trouble and cause you headaches and not amount to much, because you're putting your faith in your fears, you're allowing that to come to pass. Really, it's like you're believing that in. And too many people today are going around expecting the worst. It's like this lady I heard about. Practically every night for years, she thought she heard a burglar downstairs. She would make her husband get up at least once a week, year after year, and go downstairs, check it out, make sure everything was all right. Sure enough, one day, she thought she heard something. She told her husband, get up, somebody is downstairs. He got up and went down so routinely, like he had done 1,000 times before. This time his eyes got so big, he was staring down the barrel of a gun. The burglar said, don't make a sound, just give me your valuables. He went and got the valuables, handed them to the burglar. Burglar turned around, was about to run off. He said, hey, wait a minute. You can't leave yet. You got to come upstairs and meet my wife. He said, she's been expecting you for 30 years. We got to change what we're expecting. Quit expecting the worst and start expecting God's favor. I know people that are being talked in to having a bad year. They've listened to the news reports so long, they're expecting their finances to go down. They're expecting to barely get by. No, our attitude should be, I'm expecting to have my best year so far. I'm expecting God to prosper me in the desert. I'm expecting every negative situation to turn around. And if we're going to stay in faith, we've got to be careful who our friends are. Be careful who you associate with. Do you know fear is contagious? Worry is contagious. Negativity is contagious. If you're around people that are always complaining and discouraged, that spirit can get off on you. I read an article that talked about how we can catch other people's emotions just like we can catch a cold. They did a study where they gave a group of people a mild electrical shock, and they measured their brain waves from the time they heard they were going to get the shock till the time that it was over. What's interesting is they had another group in the room that were just there to watch. They measured their brain waves as well. And even though they were not getting the shock, they experienced the same fears as the people that were getting the shock. The researchers' conclusion was just seeing other people's fears is enough to make us afraid. If your friends are constantly complaining, talking about how bad it is and how they're not going to make it, and they've got that report of doom and gloom, let me give you some good advice. Find some new friends. That worry, that fear, that discouragement is contagious. If you stay around them long enough, there's a good chance you're going to catch what they have. I know you love your friends. You don't have to be rude. Don't go announce to them tomorrow morning, Joel told me you're contagious, man. I'm staying away from you. No, be more tactful than that. And do me a favor, don't use my name either. You can be kind, you can be respectful, but just gradually begin to pull back and don't spend as much time with them. You shouldn't go to lunch every day with somebody that's always crying the blues and talking about how bad the economy is. You can't do that and not expect it to affect you. And I know some of you may have to be around people like that. Maybe co-workers like that and you don't have a choice. Perhaps you married somebody like that. If that's the case, God will give you the grace to overcome. But what you need to do, is when you're not around them, you need to take heavy doses of faith, heavy doses of hope. Fill your mind with victory. I heard about this man. His friends decided to play a trick on him. He went to work one morning feeling great, just as happy as can be. When he walked in, the receptionist said, "Are you feeling okay today?" He said, "Yeah, I feel great. Why?" She said, "I don't know. You just look a little different. You look a little bit pale." He didn't think about anything about it and went to his office. 10 minutes later, a coworker came in and said, "Are you real tired? You don't look up to par." He said, "No, I feel fine." A few minutes, he started thinking, maybe I am a little tired. Another man came by. They talked for a moment. Then he said, "Do you have a fever? You really look warm." The guy began to loosen his tie. He said, "You know what? I am feeling kind of hot." Another man came by and said, "You look terrible today. What's wrong with you?" By 10 o'clock in the morning, the man had gone home sick. That is the power of suggestion. If we don't guard our mind and be careful about what we allow in, we can be talked into a whole lot of things. If you get up in the morning, first thing, turn the news on, hear how bad it is, and drive into work, you put on more doom and gloom. At lunch, you go to people that talk about how bad it is. You can be talked in to living a defeated life. You can be talked into dragging through the day. The funny thing is, just like with this man, there's nothing really wrong with you. Just because they said it doesn't mean that it's true. Just because a so-called expert predicts it doesn't mean we have to swallow it and live our life by it. Have you ever thought about the experts could be wrong? Well, the next 3 years are going to be dreadful and disastrous. Just make plans to get by. Now, we can either start loosening our tie and say, "You know what, I am feeling a little bad." Or we can say, "You know what, I feel just great. I know God is still on the throne. He is Jehovah Jireh, the Lord my provider. I am stronger than ever." I'm asking you today to not go home sick. Don't give up on your dreams and make plans to survive just because somebody talked you out of it. That's one report, but I've got another report. It says you are blessed, you are prosperous, you are talented, you are creative, you are well able to do what God's called you to do. And I know I like to watch the news. I like to know what's going on, but I'm careful to recognize when I've got the information I've needed and when it's just redundant doom and gloom that I don't need to be hearing again and again. With today's technology, 24-hour cable, internet, radio, some days the same bleak picture is told 100 different ways. Every hour it looks like a new headline, but really it's just the same old news being repackaged. And if we're not careful, we'll get worn down and we'll start to accept it. We'll begin to think that it's okay to fail. It's happening to everybody. Just a matter of time before I lose my house. I wonder when I'm going to get laid off. Wonder when my health is going to go down. No, turn that off and keep your mind filled with thoughts of victory. And I've learned, just as you can be talked into having a bad year, you can be talked into having a great year. Yes, fear is contagious, but the good news is faith is contagious. Victory is contagious. Joy is contagious. That's why it's so important to come out to a place like Lakewood. You need to get around other people of faith on a regular basis. You know what's happening today? You're not catching a cold, you're catching healing. You're not catching defeat, you're catching victory. You're not catching doom and gloom, you're catching hope. You're catching a bigger vision. You're catching God's favor. I've got to warn you, we are contagious. Whether you realize it or not, you are getting stronger. You're getting more joy. You're getting more peace. Your faith is increasing. When you get around other people that are blessed and happy and prosperous and full of faith, they are making you better. And I know sometimes you may not feel like coming to church. You've had a long week, you're tired, discouraged, or maybe you don't feel like turning the television on early in the morning, but that's when you need to do it more than ever. You need somebody speaking faith into you. You need to be around other believers that will lift your spirits. We are drawing strength from each other. You may not know that person sitting on your left or your right, but their faith, their joy, their peace, their victory, they're making you better. You're going to go out of here today, stronger than you were before, in part because of them. They are highly contagious. But when we give in to these thoughts of fear, it distorts our perspective. Fear is like a fog. It obscures our vision. it makes things look worse than they really are. And I read where